Welcome to Reread. Today I'm going to go through two comic book stories. The first one being Empire issue number 19. This is a short one that takes place shortly after the Rebel fleet has bust through the barricade on Yavin 4 and they escaped Darth Vader's clutches. Darth Vader goes to an informant who who Vader thinks he can get information on where the Rebels' new base is, and he gives him 1 week to find it out. Now, as he's leaving, one of the slaves, or one of the informant's slaves, I should say, she is a Falleen, and she goes, "Hey, I got information for you. He's holding out. He knows where the Rebel base is, and I can tell you more, but we can't talk here. Let's go down the basement." So he goes down to the basement, and of course, it's a trap. There's a bunch of Falleen there, and they're trying to get revenge on the quarter billion or whatever people that Vader killed on their planet a while back. Vader's been, and we knew this from Shadows of the Empire, but this is maybe the only other time we ever hear about this catastrophe, at least to my knowledge. I mean, someone may have mentioned it later on, but Darth Vader, having to fend off and fight off these Falleens. And of course, he defeats them all and says, "There's nothing for me here," and then leaves, tells the Admiral, "There's nothing for us here," and leaves. But the story's pretty good, but it got me thinking, man, I wish someone would have gone back and talked about what he did on Falleen. I think that would have made a good comic book. Talk about all of Darth Vader's atrocious things he did in his past, like poisoning the Noghri homeworld and having them, basically enslaving them to serve him as his shadow bodyguards. Stuff like that I think would have been very interesting. And Dark Horse, who was just itching to write more Darth Vader stories, why wouldn't they do stuff like that? I mean, and I keep kidding about this book Empire because it talks about just about as much as Rebellion than it does the Empire. Why not do more Darth Vader stories? Maybe there was a Darth Vader miniseries always out at the time and they didn't want to oversaturate the market with Darth Vader. I don't think that's true though. But if you have this interesting past with Vader, why don't you show it? I think that would have been just a big thing, but we never got to see that. Overall though, this issue was decent. Now, the next one I'm going to talk about is from the Star Wars Adventures Comic Digest. It's called Chewbacca and the Slavers of the Shadowlands. This is Han and Leia and Chewie are in the Millennium Falcon during some random time. You could basically put the story anywhere. But Han tells a story to Leia about, Chewbacca learning his lesson about not being too careless and not, around his friends, making sure he's very careful and not putting his friends in harm. Because when Chewbacca was a young Wookiee, and then it flashes back when he and a young Tarfels went down to the Shadowlands, a very dangerous place on the floor of Kashyyyk, and they ran into these slavers, and Chewbacca is a hothead, and so he starts going after these slavers, and his impatience will actually backfire on him, and one of the members of his Wookiee group will die because of it. And he and Tarfels have to learn how to work together. He starts to learn patience. That's his lesson, that he will never be careless again. He'll never let his carelessness get in the way of his friends, or put his friends in harm's way ever again, something like that. It's an okay story, but it's just kind of meh. All right, folks, that's it for now. See you next time.